Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about co-op with Aghanim Scepter. Queen of Pain's Aghanim Scepter not too long ago was not good, and here's why it wasn't good. What Aghanim's co-op does is it makes the initial damage of Shadow Strike do more damage by 80, which is not bad. It causes Shadow Strike your dagger to be a 400 AoE spell, which is really solid as the slow is extremely significant, right? It's a 65% movement speed slow, pretty damn good. And on top of that, it applies the dagger, and then anytime the dagger is reapplied, so on a 4-second cooldown you can reapply it, or it expires after 15 seconds, it will emit your current level of Scream of Pain, so up to 300 damage. And so it's a lot of damage. Every 4 seconds you can do an extra 300 bonus damage, and then the initial damage of 200 after the buff, and it's ticking per 80 in between those 4 seconds, so we'll get an extra tick of 80, right, because it ticks every 3 seconds. So it's a crazy amount of damage, and by the way, all of these daggers heal you, and so this hero is very sustainable. It gets a ton of stats for max, it then gets an 11 strength talent at 10, it gets 30 attack speed at 15, and we'll talk about why typically you actually take that and not the other one, and then you get Scream of Pain damage at 20, which synergizes with the Ags as well. So there's a lot of reasons, as you can see, that makes this build very, very strong. Also, one thing I want to say is this is a Quinn sponsored build. He's done this in official matches and he does it in his pubs, and so it's sponsored by the best mid lane player in Dota right now. And let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below, I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, in terms of team fights, it's pretty simple except for one thing that I'd like to talk about before we move on to the Ags timing. So for the laning stage, honestly guys, just spam dagger and use your very decent mana. It's only 100 mana for Scream of Pain, not too bad for an hero. Use that to secure range creeps, use the dagger to harass the enemy, and that's about it. In terms of rotations and early game fighting, when you only have 1 point in blink, because that's the downside of this build, you will only have 1 point in blink, and so when you only have 1 point in blink, you don't want to commit it offensively unless you're securing a kill. So in this clip we're going to see here, he blinks in because he wants to secure the kill on Slark with his ultimate. He should have positioned the ulti a little bit better, maybe to hit Undying, but whatever, he clips the Lion. Point being, you don't want to blink in like this. 12-second cooldown is a large enough gap for most heroes to be able to kill you. And so, yeah, try not to do that if possible. And so you might be asking, okay, what do I do? You literally want to walk up and just dagger. Like, you want to walk up and dagger and scream, and that's it. Like, you want to play like you're a normal Dota hero without blink and just 2 nukes, and that's how you play the hero, so you don't overcommit. And so he's going to go for a dagger here, looks for it onto the, he should have thrown it out earlier. You want to dagger as much as possible, and you want to dagger as many people as possible. And the reason why is you want to continue to heal for all those ticks, right? It's 40 heal per tick. So if you dagger 3 people, every single tick, every 3 seconds, you're getting 120 health, which is a ton of health in the early game. For instance here, maybe if he daggered better, he would have lived. Hard to say. He was getting focus fired with Undying Amp, so probably not. But yeah, that's the gist. Try not to blink in, spam your dagger on different targets as much as you can, and click your scream as much as you can. And then in terms of your ulti, you generally want to use it late into the fight when you can hit it onto 2 or 3 heroes, but don't be afraid to burst one target if that, opportunity arises. Now this upcoming clip here is going to show the Ags timing and why it's such an insane timing. I'd also like to mention that he skipped his level 10 talent, which some people do. I think it's a little crazy because 11 strength is kind of insane, but I get it. You want to max out the blink as soon as you can. Alright, so let's get into this fight. This is what makes the Ags broken. By the way, he took Fairy's Trinket, makes a lot of sense. You can honestly take like Pig Pole, you can take Oculid Bracelet, just anything that gives you stats, a little bit of mana is going to be good. So in this fight here, they're going to be pushing a tower, and this is where your hero pops off, because when people group up, that's when the AoE dagger goes insane, because you can hit 3-4 heroes with the dagger, and then when you reapply the dagger, if you can reapply it again to 3 or 4 heroes, the damage becomes wild. So you'll see, he's going to walk up, doesn't blink in, hits a 3-man dagger. Doesn't ulti right away because you want to use it usually to secure kills. They get greased up, but he hits another 2-man dagger. And what's cool about the Ags now is it now screams on the hero. So what the Ags used to do is would only scream and hit the people around them. And that's why it was completely unpurchased when they originally added it. Because when you reapplied the dagger or it ended, the Scream of Pain would only emit and hit things around. So if you were trying to solo kill someone, the Ags would do practically nothing. All it did was increase the initial damage. That's not worth 4,200 gold, but they changed it where now it also screams the hero. So you'll see it screams on the wind because that dagger also hit her. So now he's thrown out 2 max level screams of pain, hit 2 people with daggers, and the movement speed slow is insane as well, right? 192 movement speed. He's just chilling, stuck at 192 movement speed. It's brutal, absolutely brutal. And so yeah, you're extremely tanky, you emit a ton of magic damage at this point of the game, and it allows your teammates to chase easily. The Oracle's able to find the catch onto the Wind Ranger because of the significant movement speed slow, and you can also dagger people when they're completely out of vision because it's an AoE spell, and they end up winning the fight handedly, basically only due to the Quap Axe. Now, once you have maxed out Blink, things changes a little bit, because at this point you're pretty tanky. He's got a Vambrace, he's going for Kaya Sanj, which makes a lot of sense. He still has skipped his level 10 talent, so clearly opting to max out the Blink as soon as he can. And as we'll see here, he's going to go for the immediate dagger on the Slark, blinking in. It can be a little crazy to blink in, but it makes sense when it's only a 6-second cooldown and you're very tanky. You'll be able to get it up again and kite out. From there, he's going to go for another dagger. I would have liked to see him try to hit it onto Lion. I just think it's really good when you can hit the squishies in particular, so that when the dagger ends, it really chunks these low HP heroes. But the dagger really just... Unfortunately, it doesn't explode on creeps, which certainly is good. That would be obscenely broken. Like, obscenely broken. If every time it ended on a creep, it just screamed, that would be very, very bad for Dota. But yeah, in this clip here, I like that he kites out, sees a massive opportunity for an ult onto 4. Unfortunately, it didn't hit the line, just barely out of range, but gets a 4-man ult, chases with the dagger, slightly overcommits with the blink there and gets focused down by the Lion, but he emits an insane amount of damage before going down, and that's the power of the build. Finally, at level 14, he skills his strength talent. Thank God. So if you're not too familiar with Kaya Sanj as an item, let me quickly explain it. The main benefit of this item is it makes you tanky because it builds from Sanj, which gives you a lot of HP. And then Kaya makes your mana pool very sustainable as it amps mana regen. On top of that, it gives you 16% spell amp. Regular Kaya gives you 8% spell amp, so completing it with the Sanj not only makes you tanky, but gives you 8% more spell damage, and that's a lot of spell damage. So essentially when you're only nuking, it's great to build Kaya Sanj because it's going to keep you alive and make those nukes do more damage. Now, you might be wondering, why in the world would you not take Shadow Strike damage interval if you're going Ags? And the reason why is, that's just not why you buy the Ags. You're not buying it for the damage interval. It's just bad, to be honest, and you'd rather scale as like somewhat of a right clicker. This gives you options as the game progresses. You can go for a late Bloodthorn and scale into somewhat of a right clicker. And considering Kaya Sanj gives you a good amount of damage and so does Ags, and you have treads for the early game, you already hit pretty hard, and so having 30 attack speed is not bad. Like you'll notice in this clip here, they're going to portal bottom, looking for a back angle onto, I think they were looking for Slark. But they end up finding the Lion, and the Lion has his shard, so the Lion isn't going to take a lot of magic damage, but because of the fact that he has attack speed, he can right-click him down very quickly and hits pretty damn hard, especially on his supports. And for one more example of a fight, he goes pretty crazy with the blink in here. I really do wish he would like be a little bit more active about hitting the shadow strikes on enemy heroes. You just want to apply it as much as you can to make sure you're getting out that damage as frequently as you can. So he's going to kite out a bit. Once again, I would like to see him actively look for shadow strikes a bit more aggressive here. Just like, you're not going to die, right? Realistically, 2000 HP, maybe he's afraid of getting blink hexed, and I can understand that, or blink shackled. So perhaps he's actually reading the game better than I am. I'm not playing the game after all. As to be fair, he could have gotten shackled there and potentially died, but you know, he didn't back up anyway further enough for that. So ends up going for the ulti, barely doesn't kill the Slark. Oh, that hurts. Slark lives on like 1 health, but he's going to be able to chase on, and right, he kind of baits them in here. The Oracle and him and the Necro do a great job of baiting them in, hits another dagger, and the Lion can't kite out. And that's part of the benefit of Shadow Strike as well. When you apply it to these blink users, for 15 seconds, they can't blink. And that's brutal, right? Let's say you're against an Axe. It completely counters, this build completely counters him because you have status resist for his call. You're doing all magic damage, so his blade mail is not going to affect you. I mean, sure, you take your level 15 talent, so, you know, a little, I guess. But for the most part, it doesn't do anything. And so you completely destroy these, like, strength initiators that aren't going to burst you through your currently 2,700 HP pool. By the way, he took Quick Hitting Charm, and he's now going for Lincoln's. That's obviously because he's against hard stuns. If you're not against hard stuns, you have different options. You can go for Shivas and really play to just kite people and slow them down. You can go for an Octarine Core. I've seen people do that and just be an absolute nuisance, right? Octarine Core gives a ton of mana regen as well, so it works well with the Kaya Sanj mana amp. And the cooldown reduction in fights obviously makes a lot of sense, and for farming. Like, you just blink around like crazy, you farm the entire map, you can then eventually buy your shard, and when you hit level 20 with Octarine Core and Shard, you can one-shot creep waves, and it makes you really crazy how fast you can farm on this hero with that build. So that's definitely an option as well. Alright, and for one of the last fights of the video, I would just once again kind of like to emphasize that I think it's very important to look for these multi-man daggers. Like, I guess maybe the radius is not as big as I think, but I would have, you can see he's kind of looking to get it onto the Undying in the line there, and that's what you want to do, right? You really want to look for these angles to hit multiple heroes. So he's going to get gone on by Brood, one simple dagger, Brood doesn't do nearly enough damage. That just slammed down the Lion. So the Lion goes down. And you can have a bit of a mana problem if you're continuing to farm. It's definitely a little mana intensive. If Slark pounces into him, but that's not going to kill him. Yeah, Slark regens too quickly. So he's going to kite to the outside of the fight. Kind of has to play around his troll here. Actually, this looks just horrible. All right, he's got to get out. And this next clip is very good here as well. So he got his shard, he got it from the Tormentor. Yeah, he did, which is very, very convenient. So he gets his shard from the Tormentor. If you don't know what it does, when you blink on someone, it releases a boom, so it does 125 damage in the AoE in which you blink. And then it also does 1.75 seconds of silence. So it lets you kind of go on supports that would typically be able to protect themselves for that short period of time. The Slark ends up going on him, but the Lion gets daggone down. He's way too tanky for Slark to burst through him, especially when he's surrounded by his entire team. And they're able to hit him up with the chain sounds. That was beautiful. The hook shot into the cog back, into the shard sounds from the Quap, picks up the kill. That was insanely clean. And from there, this is the level 20 talent with the Scream, right? You blink onto the wave. I think because of the fact that it's later into the game, he actually does have to use the dagger to one-shot the wave, but you blink, dagger, Scream, and it will one-shot the creep wave. And you don't have to auto-attack anything besides the flag bearer, so it makes farming very quick. Like, very fast. And if you go, like, if you have the luxury to go Octarine over Lincoln's, which, you know, he doesn't this game because of Wind and Lion, but if you do have that luxury, you just one-shot waves like crazy. It's really wild, the farming rate of Qua, and that's part of the reason this build is good. If the game, like, you might be thinking, oh, this build's so early game oriented, it's all magic damage. Well, first of all, it scales well because you're daggering so much and you get tanky, so you continue to dagger more, as we kind of see here. The slow scales fine as well, right? It's just like a consistent 65% slow. If the game slows down, you can just get so many items and you can go Bloodthorn Nullifier and completely just turn into a right clicker. Bloodthorn gives a lot of int now as well, so it works particularly well on Qua, and the Nullifier is just because as the game progresses, you want a little bit of armor on Quap, so Nullifier gives her the armor she needs, and then Dispels, which people will tend to buy to kite in the late game. The Yules, the Glimmers, the Pabis, the Crimson, the Ghost, 4 staffs, right? It counters all of this stuff, so it's just really good in the late game to prevent these cheap items from doing too much. All right, but yeah, that's going to be the end of today's video. I just wanted to do a bit of a showcase on why I think this build is not only strong, but incredibly fun. This is one of those Dota builds where you're like, you're just so explosive. That's the best word to use for it here. You're just explosive. You do a credible amount of damage. You're extremely hard to kill. You farm like a madman. It really does it all, and that's why I expect this build to be very popular as time goes on. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.